AITA for exposing my ex's 5-year lie in court when DNA proved the child wasn't mine. So I, a 34-year-old, met Brooke Ellis, a 31-year-old, at my best friend Jay Carlson's wedding. In 2016, I was the best man. She was a bridesmaid, and yes, I know how cliché that sounds, but stick with me. At the time, everything was going pretty well for me. I had a good information technology consulting job at a healthcare company. Those hospital systems do not update themselves. I had just bought my first house in the Bay Area suburbs and was finally making progress on my project car, a 1967 Mustang in rough shape that my dad and I had been restoring since I finished college. Life was good, you know. The wedding took place at a chic Napa Valley vineyard. Jake's wife came from a wealthy family. Brooke caught my eye during the rehearsal dinner. She was gorgeous, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my work. Looking back, I should have realized she was more interested in my salary than my career. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, right? We spent the night together after the reception. A classic wedding story, I know. But then we kept talking. She lived about an hour away from me and worked as a social media manager for a tech startup that was supposed to become the next big thing for pet owners or something like that. I remember being impressed by this cool-sounding tech job. Spoiler, the startup was basically 3 guys in a co-working space burning through their parents' money. When the company inevitably went under 6 months later, Brooke was devastated. She called me crying, saying she had put her heart and soul into it. Translation, she was posting pictures of dogs on Instagram. At that point, we were officially a couple, and I suggested she move in with me while she figured out what to do next. I had the space, and her lease was expiring. Classic mistake number 1. This is where I need to give you a little background on Brooke that I wish I had known earlier. She came from a fairly well-off family where her dad paid for absolutely everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Private school, college, luxury car, credit card bills, everything. When her dad finally cut her off at 25, because apparently even he had his limits, she started bouncing between startups and small influencer gigs without ever staying long enough to build a real career. But she knew exactly how to sell herself. When she moved in with me, she had all these grand plans to launch her own social media consulting agency. She would spend hours making PowerPoint presentations on her brand strategy and talking about all her potential networking clients. I truly believed she was building something. Meanwhile, my credit card bills kept increasing. The first red flag that I ignored, and there were many, was when she borrowed my card for essential business expenses. Essential meaning a $2,000 MacBook Pro because you cannot run a business with a normal computer, a $500 ring light kit, and about $1,000 in clothes for business meetings that never happened. When I brought it up, she turned it around on me, saying I was not supporting her dreams and that investing in yourself was the best investment. You know what is sad? I believed her. I was making a good living, about $120,000 at the time. I had savings and I thought I was helping someone I loved build her future. Plus, she was easy to live with when she was not spending my money. We would go on spontaneous road trips, she would leave cute little notes around the house, and she even seemed interested in cars. Another red flag I missed. She was faking it. We got married in 2018, about 2 years after we met. It was not a huge wedding, but it was not cheap either. Brooke insisted we do it at the same vineyard where we met because it is our story. Her parents paid for nothing despite their talk about wanting to help. My savings took a big hit, but I figured it was worth it. The wedding was beautiful. Everyone had a great time, and Brooke seemed genuinely happy. My dad pulled me aside during the reception. He is an old-school guy who worked at Ford for 30 years and restored cars in his spare time. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Son, did you get a prenup?" When I nodded, thanks to my lawyer friend Matt Donovan who had insisted, he relaxed a bit, but remained concerned. Just remember one thing. Someone who loves you for who you are will not need your credit card to prove it. I should have listened closer to those words. But you know how it is when you are in love? You think you are the exception. You believe your story is different. You tell yourself the red flags are just part of the other person's unique personality. I was wrong. After the wedding, she completely stopped pretending to respect our budget, as if the wedding ring was an activation code for an unlimited credit card in her head. But let me backtrack and show you just how far off the rails things went. About 3 months after the wedding, I got promoted at work. I was now making around $150,000 as a senior consultant, which should have made life easier. Instead, Brooke took it as a sign that she could finally dedicate herself full-time to her personal brand. She quit her part-time job at a local marketing agency, the only real job she had had in years, without even talking to me about it. She simply came home one day and announced, "I am finally free to pursue my dreams." These dreams apparently involved turning our home office into a content creation studio. She spent $5,000 of our savings on video equipment, lighting, and a completely ridiculous pink velvet couch she said was perfect for her Instagram aesthetic. When I pointed out that we had planned to use that money to redo the roof, she replied, "But babe, it is an investment in our future. Do you really want me working in a space that does not inspire me?" And here is where it gets even more interesting. She launched a YouTube channel about luxury lifestyle on a budget. Ironic, right? Actually, fake. She would use my credit card to buy luxury items for her videos and then return most of them after filming. But something strangely never made it back to the store. When I found a box with $900 Louboutins in her closet, she claimed they were essential props for her brand image. Meanwhile, my Mustang, the project I mentioned earlier, Brooke started complaining that it was taking up too much space in the garage. Let me remind you, this car was my weekend project with my dad for 5 years. We had restored about 70% of it, and I was this close to getting it running again. But Brooke needed the garage for her yoga and wellness space because apparently the guest room was not enough for her videos. One day, I came home and discovered she had listed my car for sale on Facebook Marketplace. She had not sold it yet, but people had already come to look at it. Her excuse? "Honey, we need the space, and honestly, you spend too much time on that old car. Do you not want to support my wellness journey?" That is when we had our first massive fight. I had never yelled at her before, but finding out she tried to sell my car behind my back, I blew up. She cried, accused me of being controlling with money, and then pulled the classic manipulation. "If you really loved me, you would want me to succeed." The next day, she apologized and promised never to do it again. Like an idiot, I believed her. But she started a sort of passive-aggressive campaign against the car. She would forget to close the garage door on rainy days or store her equipment right next to it, risking hitting it with her boxes. Finally, after she scratched the brand-new paint with her yoga equipment, I caved and sold the car. My dad was so disappointed. He did not say anything directly, but I saw it in his eyes when I told him. That car represented years of weekends spent together, and I let Brooke take it away from me. The money from the sale she spent on a business retreat in Sedona, Arizona, which was really just a luxury trip where she took Instagram photos with other wannabe influencers. She came back with grand plans to launch a wellness coaching business, buying essential oils, meditation cushions, building a website that I paid for, and even ordering business cards that said Brooke Ellis, holistic wellness expert and lifestyle curator. You want to know how many clients she got? 0. But she managed to rack up $15,000 in credit card debt buying inventory for a skincare line she wanted to launch. The products sat in the garage, right where my car used to be, until they expired. When I found the boxes of expired cream and asked her to explain, she blamed me for not promoting her business to my coworkers' wives. At this point, I was working 60 hours a week to keep up with her spending. I would come home late, exhausted, to find out she had ordered $200 worth of takeout because she was too stressed to cook. The house was always a mess because she was too busy creating content. Yet her YouTube channel had an impressive total of 342 subscribers after a year of full-time work. Looking back, I realized she was probably posting about our perfect life on Instagram while draining my credit cards, and I was not even allowed to follow her accounts because supposedly it would skew her analytics. Red flag city, population me. The breaking point. I found out she had taken out a loan against my 401k without telling me. She had guessed my password, the model year of my car, and her name. Yes, I know, idiot. And she had withdrawn $30,000 for what she called a professional opportunity. In reality, she had spent it all on a mentorship program run by an Instagram guru who promised to get her to 100,000 followers. After discovering the loan on my 401k, I spent a week sleeping in my office trying to figure out what to do. I forwarded my calls to my cell phone and told people I was testing a new remote work setup. In reality, I was too ashamed to tell anyone what was going on. My dad's words about credit cards kept looping in my head. Remember my lawyer friend Matt Donovan? Well, He had been trying to warn me about Brooke for a while. When I finally called him at 2 in the morning from my office couch, he did not even sound surprised. He just said, "Send me your calendar link. We will talk about it tomorrow." Matt is the kind of friend everyone needs. He would rather help you fix your mistakes than say, "I told you so." The next morning, I discovered that Brooke had gone on a shopping spree that would make anyone blush. She had managed to open 3 new credit cards in my name. The total damage, $47,000. Her excuse, "I was stressed about our relationship problems, and shopping helps me manage my anxiety." I wish I was making this up. Matt looked at the credit card statements and literally laughed. Not because it was funny, but because Brooke had made our divorce incredibly easy to win. Remember the prenup I mentioned? It contained a specific clause on financial misconduct. Thanks to Matt's paranoid side. When I finally told my parents what was happening, my mom cried and my dad just sat there cleaning engine parts, his way of processing emotions. Then he said something that changed the way I looked at things. "Son, she will not stop until she hits rock bottom or finds another target. Right now, you are the easiest option." Filing for divorce was surprisingly simple. The hardest part was going home and breaking the news to Brooke. I had prepared a whole speech, but when I walked in, she was filming a day in the life of a boss babe video in our kitchen. She had ordered $300 worth of organic groceries for the set, obviously with my card, while our real fridge was empty. I waited for her to finish recording and said, "Brooke, I am filing for divorce." Her reaction, she grabbed her phone and started filming again, saying, "Guys, I need to be honest with you about something." I left before becoming content for her My Truth series. The following weeks were completely insane. Brooke tried everything to stop the divorce. First, she love-bombed me, reminiscing about our perfect moments. She even pulled out parts from my old Mustang from the garage that she had hidden instead of throwing away and suggested we restore another car together. Hard pass. When that did not work, she moved on to threats. "I will tell everyone you were abusive." I was not. "I will ruin your career." She tried, but my boss knew her. "I will make sure no woman ever wants to date you again." Spoiler, that did not work either. The absolute worst was that she launched an entire social media campaign portraying herself as a victim of financial abuse. According to her posts, I was a controlling monster who stopped her from working or pursuing her dreams. Meanwhile, I had spreadsheets showing I had spent over $200,000 funding her projects. Matt was worth every penny during this period. When Brooke's lawyer, some guy she found on TikTok, tried to argue she deserved alimony because she had sacrificed her career for our marriage, Matt pulled out her Instagram posts where she bragged about being a self-made entrepreneur. Hard to say you gave up your career when you present yourself as a girl boss every single day. The divorce was finalized in early 2021. Thanks to the prenup and the evidence of her financial misconduct, she got way less than she was hoping for. She kept her camera equipment and that infamous pink couch, along with a small financial settlement that I agreed to just to be done with it. The last time I saw her in court, she tried one last manipulation. "I hope you know you are throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you," she said with fake tears. I simply replied, "The best thing that ever happened to me is that Matt insisted on that prenup." The look on her face was priceless. The following year, I rebuilt my life. I got promoted to a management position. Working 60 hours a week finally had its perks. I started working out again. It is amazing how much time you have when you are not funding someone else's Instagram career. I even bought another project car, a 1970 Chevelle that needed some love. My dad and I started spending our weekends on it again, making up for lost time. Life was finally good again. I was dating casually. My credit score was going back up, and I had almost forgotten Brooke existed. Almost. January 2023 started off pretty normally. I was in a good place. The Chevelle was almost done. Work was going great, and I had even started seeing someone new. More on that later. Then one evening, coming home, I found a certified letter in my mailbox. The sender, the county court. My stomach tied in knots immediately. I opened it right there in my driveway, and I swear my brain short-circuited trying to process what I was reading. It was a petition for child support and custody arrangements. According to these documents, I had a son named Logan James Lang. The petition claimed that I had abandoned my parental responsibilities and needed to start paying immediately. Here is what completely blew my mind. The child was supposedly born in November 2021. For those keeping track, That is 9 months after our divorce was finalized. Brooke claimed we had spent the night together one last time right after the divorce. That absolutely never happened. And that she had gotten pregnant then. I sat in my car for an hour reading and rereading those papers. The file included a birth certificate with my name listed as the father. She had actually put my name on a birth certificate without me knowing. I did not even know that was legal. The more I read, the more surreal it got. The petition included this whole emotional backstory saying Brooke had tried to contact me throughout her pregnancy, but I had blocked her everywhere. True, but completely irrelevant since there was no child. She was asking for $2,800 a month in child support, plus back pay for the previous year, and wanted me to cover the child's health insurance. I immediately called Matt. It was 9 at night, but this was an emergency. He answered on the first ring because he is literally the best lawyer friend anyone could ask for. When I explained the situation, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Do nothing. Do not contact her. Do not post anything online. Come to my office first thing tomorrow morning." That night was probably the longest of my life. I could not sleep. I kept thinking about the fact that Brooke had literally created an entire false narrative involving a child just to target me financially. I knew she was manipulative, but this was on another level. At 3 in the morning, I was searching online how to prove you are not the father. The next morning, Matt explained something that made my blood run cold. In our state, if you do not contest paternity within 30 days of being served, you can be legally declared the father by default, even without a DNA test. Brooke had calculated her move perfectly. She had filed the petition right after the holiday court slowdown, probably hoping I would miss the deadline while the paperwork piled up. But where it gets even crazier, Matt started looking at the dates and something did not add up. According to the birth certificate, the child was born in November 2021, but our divorce was not finalized until March 2021. If we had actually spent the night together right after the divorce like she claimed, the child would have been born in December 2021 at the earliest. Matt checked Brooke's Instagram via a burner account we used to monitor her antics, and he found pictures of her, clearly not pregnant, at a music festival in May 2021. Either she had the fastest pregnancy in the world, or she was lying. We immediately filed a response demanding a DNA test and contesting the birth certificate. But while waiting for the hearing, Matt kept digging. He hired a private investigator. I was already in debt from the divorce, so what was a few thousand more? That is when things got interesting. The private investigator discovered that Brooke had been living with a guy named Kevin for most of 2022. Kevin had been paying her under-the-table child support, about $1,500 a month, but he had stopped paying around October 2022. Guess when Brooke filed her claim against me? December 2022. The private investigator also found Brooke's TikTok account. Of course she had one. She posted dramatic videos there about the struggles of being a single mom, raising a baby alone, while the father was out enjoying his life. The comments were full of people supporting her and bashing the absent father. She had constructed this entire false narrative of abandonment during her pregnancy. But the detail that changed everything. In one of her videos from July 2022, you could accidentally spot a piece of mail on her counter. It was addressed to Kevin Lang, the same Kevin who was paying her. The private investigator tracked him down, and what he told us completely blew the whole case wide open. Now, let me tell you about Kevin and how Brooke's house of cards started tumbling down. Meeting Kevin was surreal. Matt and I met him at a coffee shop out of town, neutral ground since we did not know if he was an accomplice or another victim. It turned out he was clearly a victim, and his story made my blood boil. Kevin was a software developer and had met Brooke in a co-working space in early 2021, right after our divorce. According to him, she introduced herself as a digital marketing consultant launching her own agency. Sound familiar? She was using the exact same playbook, just with a different target. She seemed so genuine, Kevin told us, absent-mindedly stirring his coffee. She said she was focusing on her career after leaving a difficult marriage where her ex stopped her from working. I almost choked on my drink. She had completely flipped our story, painting herself as the victim of what she had done to me. Kevin and Brooke started dating in March 2021. By May, she had already moved into his downtown loft. Then in June, she dropped the bomb. She was pregnant. Kevin was thrilled. He was 36, had a good career, and wanted kids. Brooke played the mom-to-be role perfectly, going to prenatal yoga classes, and posting belly bump pictures on Instagram. She even had Kevin drive her to her doctor appointments, but he noticed she never let him come inside with her, allegedly because of COVID restrictions. And here is where it gets completely insane. Brooke faked the entire pregnancy. She wore a silicone fake belly for her Instagram photos. The private investigator found the purchase receipt on her Amazon account. She scheduled her appointments at times when the clinic was actually closed. Kevin never questioned it, because who lies about a pregnancy? In November 2021, Brooke told Kevin she was going to visit her sister out of state for an all-girls baby shower. A week later, she came back with baby Logan, claiming she had gone into premature labor while at her sister's. Kevin was disappointed to have missed the birth, but he was too happy about becoming a dad to question the story. For the next year, Kevin played the role of dad. He paid for everything: rent, baby stuff, Brooke's postpartum care. He even started a college fund for Logan. Brooke had completely convinced him he was the father, even though she always had excuses for not putting him on the birth certificate yet. "It is just a formality," she would say. "We know you are his father. That is what matters." But cracks started to show. Kevin noticed that Logan looked like neither him nor Brooke. When he brought it up, she would get defensive and accuse him of not loving the child enough. Classic manipulation. Then Kevin's mom, who is a nurse, started asking awkward questions about the birth story. The dates did not add up. In October 2022, Kevin finally demanded a paternity test. Brooke made a huge scene, accusing him of betraying their family. But Kevin stood his ground. He bought an at-home DNA kit, and that is when Brooke showed her true colors. She disappeared one weekend while Kevin was away on a business trip, taking Logan and most of her belongings. She left a note saying Kevin's lack of trust had destroyed their family. Classic Brooke: when cornered, she runs. Kevin tried to track them down, but Brooke had blocked him everywhere. He stopped paying her under-the-table child support and started looking for legal help. That is when she turned to her backup plan: me. But here is the crucial part. Kevin had proof. He had documented everything as soon as he started finding the birth certificate story suspicious. He had texts where she admitted to faking doctor appointments. He had video surveillance footage from their building showing her putting on and taking off the fake pregnant belly. And most importantly, he had proof of all the money he had given her for their child. While all this was unfolding, the private investigator made another discovery. Brooke's sister, the one who supposedly threw the baby shower, had been living in Florida since 2020. There was no sister's house, no baby shower, no premature birth. The whole story was fabricated. We also found a baby registry of Brooke's from 2021 registered under the names Brooke and Kevin Lang. She had used Kevin's last name even though they were not even married. The registry had expensive items on it, most of which Kevin had purchased. She pulled the exact same scheme on him as she did on me, just way more elaborate. But the biggest revelation dropped when the private investigator got information from the hospital where Logan was supposedly born. No record of Brooke giving birth there. In fact, no record of her giving birth anywhere in the state during that time frame. That is when Matt's eyes lit up. That look lawyers get when they know they are onto something. "We need to subpoena the actual birth records," he said. "I think I know what she did, and if I am right, she is in massive trouble." We immediately filed the motion, but the wheels of justice turned slowly. Meanwhile, the court date for the DNA test was approaching. Brooke's lawyer, still that TikTok guy, kept trying to delay it, claiming she was too stressed to appear. The day before the hearing, Brooke tried one last desperate maneuver. She posted a tearful video on Instagram claiming her difficult ex was trying to disown his own child and asked her followers to pray for her. The comments were flooded with support and people ready to donate money. What they did not know was that it was all about to come crashing down. The morning of the hearing, I was incredibly nervous. Even with all the evidence, Brooke had always been good at manipulating situations. I had seen her talk her way out of unbelievable scenarios before, and part of me worried she might pull it off again. Matt met me outside the courthouse early that morning. He held a thick folder full of evidence that he tapped like a good luck charm. "Remember," he told me, "let her talk. The more she talks, the more she will contradict herself." Kevin was there too, looking exhausted. Understandable. Finding out you paid for a child that might not be yours will keep you up at night. Brooke arrived looking carefully curated, like she stepped right out of the struggling single mom aisle at a costume store. No makeup, hair thrown up in a messy bun, wearing what looked like medical scrubs. She had never worked in healthcare a day in her life. She had Logan with her. It was the first time I had seen him. Cute kid, but he looked absolutely nothing like her, which suddenly felt very significant. Her TikTok lawyer looked nervous, which was our first good sign. He kept whispering in her ear and showing her something on his phone. We later found out he had just seen some of the evidence we were going to present and was trying to convince her to settle. But Brooke, true to form, thought she could talk her way out of it. The judge was an older guy, the type who looked like he had seen every trick in the book. When Brooke's lawyer tried to delay the DNA test one more time, this time citing religious objections, the judge just stared at him until he sat down. Then Matt stood up and dropped the first revelation. Your Honor, before we proceed with the DNA test, we have evidence that the birth certificate submitted to this court was obtained fraudulently. The judge raised an eyebrow. The universal sign for this better be good. Matt pulled out the hospital records obtained by subpoena, or rather the lack thereof. No record of Brooke giving birth anywhere in the state, but that was not even the biggest shocker. The real revelation was what the private investigator found when digging deeper into Logan. It turned out Brooke had gotten Logan's birth certificate using a common method in identity cases. She had exploited a clerical loophole at a small county office by submitting paperwork claiming a home birth with a midwife. The midwife whose name she used had been retired for 3 years. The address she provided was a vacant lot. But here is what made the entire courtroom react. We had proof that Brooke had been actively looking to acquire a child around the time Logan was supposedly born. The private investigator had found messages she sent across various social media platforms reaching out to pregnant women about private arrangements. Some of these women had come forward after seeing her struggling single mom posts. Brooke's face cycled through about 50 different expressions while Matt presented the evidence. When he showed screenshots of her wearing the fake pregnant belly at different stages from Kevin's security cameras, she even tried to protest, claiming the images were taken out of context. The judge cut her off sharply. Ms. Ellis, unless you are about to explain how surveillance footage can misrepresent a fake pregnant belly, I suggest you let your counsel speak. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. You cannot blame him. He must have realized he was completely out of his depth. When Matt presented the evidence showing Brooke had simultaneously claimed both Kevin and I were Logan's father, the lawyer literally started packing up his briefcase. Then came the moment that brought Brooke's entire charade crashing down. The judge asked her directly, Ms. Ellis, can you provide any medical proof whatsoever of your pregnancy and delivery? Brooke started her usual routine, tears in her eyes, voice trembling. Your Honor, I was very traumatized by the birth. I did not keep any records because the judge cut her off. That is not my question. Do you have medical proof that you gave birth to this child? For the first time since I had known her, Brooke was completely speechless. She looked around like she was searching for an exit. Then she did something I never thought I would see. She completely dropped the act. This is ridiculous, she snapped. Her humble mom voice was gone, replaced by the arrogant tone I knew from our marriage. I do not have to prove anything to you. That home birth was completely legal. Matt was almost smiling. Your Honor, we have one final piece of evidence. He pulled out one last document, the final revelation. Matt handed the judge a file containing police reports from a small town about 3 hours away. In November 2021, right around the time Brooke claimed to have given birth, multiple reports were filed about a woman matching her description loitering near the maternity ward of the local hospital. She was posing as a support worker to gain access to new mothers. The judge scanned the documents, his expression darkening with every line. Then he looked up at Brooke and said something I will never forget. Ms. Ellis, are you aware that actions like these involving the unlawful acquisition of custody can lead to serious federal consequences? The entire courtroom went dead silent. Brooke's lawyer stood up and stated, Your Honor, I must withdraw from this case. I can no longer represent Ms. Ellis. Then he simply packed his things and left. I had never seen anything like it. Brooke started panicking. This is all just a misunderstanding, she yelled. But Matt was not done. He had one last witness, a young woman named Samantha who had been admitted to that hospital in November 2021. She had given birth to a baby boy, but was suffering from severe postpartum depression. Brooke had befriended her, posing as a support worker, and convinced her to sign over temporary guardianship of her baby while she got help. Samantha had been trying to find her son for over a year. She had reported him missing to the police, but Brooke had used fake documents and a false identity. It was not until she saw one of Brooke's TikToks about her single mom life that she recognized her and contacted our private investigator. The judge immediately ordered a DNA test, not just to prove I was not the father, but to confirm if Logan was actually Samantha's son. Brooke completely lost it. She tried to run out of the courtroom with Logan, but the bailiff stopped her. She was screaming that she just wanted to give him a better life and that nobody understood what it was like to want a child this badly. The DNA results came back in a week thanks to an expedited process. Logan was indeed Samantha's son. Brooke had engaged in deceptive and unlawful actions to obtain the child from a vulnerable mother and then tried to use him to obtain child support from multiple men. The judge was furious. The consequences were immediate and severe. Brooke was indicted on multiple serious charges, including fraud, falsification of official documents, and unlawful custodial interference. Kevin and I both got restraining orders against her. She was ordered to pay back every single penny Kevin had given her in the false child support arrangement. She is facing 15 to 20 years in prison and is currently awaiting her final sentencing. The judge also referred the case to federal authorities for potential additional charges. Samantha got Logan back, and it turns out she is a wonderful mother. She got treatment for her postpartum depression and never stopped looking for her son. She even thanked Kevin and me for helping expose the truth. Today, she works with an organization that helps mothers suffering from postpartum depression and advocates for better security in hospitals. Kevin and I actually became friends through this whole ordeal. He is doing better now. He is dating a great woman who has a real job. She is a teacher. As for me, I finally finished restoring the Chevelle with my dad. My girlfriend, the paralegal I mentioned, loves going for rides in it and is actually interested in what I say about cars. No faking it. She helped me organize all the evidence for the trial and thinks this story will make an excellent personal statement for law school. Brooke's social media empire crumbled once the truth came out. Her followers turned against her, and several YouTube channels covered the case. Last I heard, she was trying to get a plea deal, but the district attorney was not being very lenient. It seems there might be other victims we do not even know about yet. The biggest lesson I learned from all this, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Brooke had shown me her true colors during our marriage with all her financial manipulation. But I kept making excuses for her. If I had listened to my gut and my dad's wisdom sooner, I might have been able to prevent what happened to Kevin and Samantha. But at least justice finally caught up with her. Sometimes karma takes a while, but when it hits hard. Edit 1. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards and support. Edit 2. For everyone asking for the car tax, here is the finished Chevelle. Link removed by moderators. Sorry. Edit 3. A lot of people are asking if Brooke is still active on social media. No, all her accounts were banned after the story broke. Apparently, platforms do not like it when you use them to document your own crimes. Final update. I just heard from Matt. Brooke's plea deal was rejected. She is going to trial next month. I will post an update if anything new happens, but honestly, I am mostly just relieved this chapter of my life is over. Thanks everyone for reading this insane story. Remember, trust your gut, keep good friends close, especially if they are lawyers, and above all, always get a prenup. Comment. This one really hit close to home for me, and I hope it left you thinking as well. I've come to realize how important it is to hold on to your self-respect no matter what. Setting clear boundaries is an act of self-care, not selfishness. True kindness starts with how we treat ourselves in difficult situations. Healing takes time, but it always begins with choosing yourself. Taking responsibility for your happiness changes everything, and learning to choose peace over familiar chaos is freeing. You deserve relationships that lift you up instead of draining you. Let me know down below which part resonated with you the most. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.